Today we're talking about the upgrade trap. Why do your raises, your bonuses, your windfalls, your Christmas gift money, why do they just disappear into thin air? Why is this? So that's what we're talking about today. Now, you know and I know that most people don't overspend because they're reckless or they don't care about their future selves or any of this. They overspend because upgrades happen nearly invisibly. And so when we have more money, it's very, very likely that we will just go and spend it all unless we've got some kind of a more structured plan for this. Researchers have actually found that this is also true from a peer group level. Let's say you're all working in an office and everybody gets an annual Christmas bonus. Well, what your colleagues are doing with their annual Christmas bonus is very likely what you will be doing with your annual Christmas bonus, unless you're being perhaps more intentional than they are, or you're all working in finance and so you're all like kind of wired this way to be being more intentional about your money. But it's really, really a thing where we look around us and we see other people doing things, and unless we have another plan in mind, we will just do what everyone else is doing. It's us being human. So the habit that I want you to think about today is that financially successful people delay lifestyle upgrades when they get raises. So they're not going to go out and just instantly buy themselves a new sports car when they get a raise. They're going to delay those lifestyle upgrades and really be intentional, really be mindful, and think through, what else do I need this money for, rather than just putting it right into lifestyle upgrades, which is super easy to do, especially with the cost of living having gone up. And I do want to give a shout out to inflation and rising cost of living because it is epic right now. And so I don't want to gloss over that, because some of this is also that everything is just simply costing more. So it's easy, and perhaps easier than it's ever been, at least in my lifetime, to just have all your money extra money that comes in, just go straight out the door on things, because all the things cost more, the houses and the cars and the vacations and the dining out. And I mean, it's insane how much cost of everything has gone up in the last couple of years in particular, relative to say the last 10, 20 years. So again, this isn't about putting off all of your spending forever. This is not about depriving yourself or never taking another vacation or never buying a new car, never doing anything you love and never having another cool experience again. Not at all. I'm all about balance here on my channel. We are not talking about doing anything extreme here. But one thing to really think through is just having enough of a pause there between when you get that bonus and when you're going to go spend it again, to ask yourself a couple of questions. Is this purchase that I'm planning to make with my bonus money sustainable? What about my future self goals? How am I doing with my retirement contributions, for example? Does this actually improve my quality of life? I think this is something that gets missed a lot, is asking, do I want it, or am I just doing it because everyone else has just gone out and bought a new car or taken a new vacation with this money? Or again, is this just the next default? Is this just kind of factory settings, what everybody at the office does with the Christmas bonus? So this is really the habit at the core of it, is separating income growth from lifestyle growth and just having a gap there so you get yourself a chance to really pause and think things through. There's a really, really good book that addresses this. It's called Nudge: Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness by Nobel-winning author Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. And Richard Thaler is one of the fathers of modern behavioral economics, and he's just really done some fantastic work. And this book is the original version that was released. I think I got this in 2019. And then there's a new version that just came out last year. So I'd recommend buying the updated version, because the authors have actually completely redone this since then. So there's an updated version that we'll do a review on here for the channel. But in this book, they argue that people don't usually make poor choices because they're irresponsible. They make them because the environment nudges them there. When income increases, spending gets easier, upgrades feel natural, and suddenly a higher lifestyle just becomes the default. I think we've probably all either done this ourselves at some point or seen friends and family do this as well, or colleagues. A couple things they talk about in Nudge is that humans follow defaults. Raises quietly reset our normal. So if we're making more money, that's our new normal. And so we're just going to work with what we've got. And lifestyle inflation is rarely a conscious choice, which we touched on. There's a good quote from the book. It says, "People tend to go along with the status quo, and nowhere is that more true than finance." So a simple rule that I would suggest for handling things like raises, windfalls, and bonuses would be to take a 90-day pause between when you get the bonus, whatever, and when you start making lifestyle changes. And just take that pause of 90 days to just be able to think through mindfully and intentionally what you really want to do with that money. That lets it really kind of percolate in there. So really focus on changing nothing for 90 days between when you get the raise and when you make the final decision about what to do with it. Kind of let that money land, let it settle, let it sit with you. One of the things that's really interesting in particular, if you've had a windfall, is that there's actually something in behavioral finance that they refer to as sudden wealth syndrome. And I've done a whole video on that, and I will link to it on screen and in the description down below. It's one of my enduringly popular videos that people watch time and time again, month over month, because it's just such a fascinating thing of how an influx of sudden wealth affects us psychologically, how it affects our relationships, how it can cause its own set of stress. So it's a fascinating topic. And so I'll link to my video on that as well. But just kind of let that money land. I would really recommend that you speak with your financial advisor or look at hiring one if you don't have one already, because they're really well trained to be able to objectively and calmly guide you in what best to do with that money. So that's very good, especially if you're looking at investing it. Speak with an investment advisor. And above all, just be mindful and intentional, because we're all about building wealth with intention here on my channel. So really focus on giving yourself time to kind of come down off the euphoria of having this extra money and just make the most intentional decision you can with that money. Whatever you do with it is your choice, it's your money. But just as long as you're making an intentional choice, that's the main thing. And then remember that you can absolutely upgrade if that's what you want to do, but upgrade after you have that clarity of having that 90-day pause and not before. And then that way, even if you do go out and buy yourself a sports car, let's say you take your family on a wonderful vacation, you will really enjoy it because you have really been intentional and been mindful about that purchase. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video. And again, really looking forward to doing a review on Nudge. It's just such a fascinating book and really help you make better decisions in your areas of health, wealth, and happiness, like the title says. So that'll be a fun one. And I will, in the meantime, link to another video here on screen, and I will see you very soon over there.